Brad Brownell is rebuilding Clemson basketball with a transfer portal masterclass. 4 new Tigers, major upgrades, real momentum. We'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 FM The Roar. You can check me out there every Thursday morning on Mickey Plyler's show. And during the football season, you can check me out on the Morgan Thomas show over on the radio as well. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you know anything about Locked On, you know we're going to do something Monday through Friday every single weekday. You're going to get something exclusive content about Clemson, your favorite team, right here. If you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. You know, that'll help out the algorithm so you can get more episodes in. And also you can hit the notification bell over on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And in between episodes, don't forget to follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show for updates, behind the scenes, my thoughts, and any kind of extra Clemson stuff that I talk about over there. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to talk to you about Brad Brownell and really more of a basketball related show because, you know, last week I did all football, I did all spring, and I kind of let the basketball storylines kind of drift to the sideline because it was all spring football for me. And I know you loved it. I had a lot of views out there. I had a lot of love and support for those videos, but we don't want to forget about our basketball team because they've been, you know, Brad Brown has been quietly working in the offseason. I think he's had a good offseason so far. So I want to talk about how he's flipping the roster using the transfer portal. We'll talk about kind of what we think about those specific players that he's added so far and what my thoughts on a starting five would be going into the next season. So, you know, let's tip it off, if you will. Brad Brownell responds to, honestly, what I thought was a roster collapse. To me, I felt like there was a little bit of panic. And I'm kind of a nervous fan myself, just because, you know it seems like what can go wrong will go wrong when it comes to my favorite team. I don't know if you've ever felt that way in the past, but I definitely have felt like, okay, it's just a moment of time for something implodes and things don't go the way that I wish that they would. And football team has definitely kind of proven me wrong in many ways and been able to win national championships. The basketball team has not. The baseball team has not been to Omaha, even though they have it on their hat. They haven't been there. The softball team, struggling to kind of get over that hump and to get to the World Series as well. So, when it looks at the men's basketball team, the one thing that I did actually trust from this team and from Brad Brownell is just his ability to build a roster from the transfer portal, because if anything, he cooks in the transfer portal, as I put on the today's show list there on the graphic. But he's precise, he's calculated, he really knows what he wants in a player. He's really good at figuring out what players work well together. For whatever reason, I don't know if he's the best high school recruiter out there, and maybe it's because of how AAU is and he doesn't really like that. But to me, he really likes to go into the transfer portal, find these guys that maybe were overlooked or maybe that were really good at a lower level college and kind of let them shine at Clemson. And the unfortunate thing about the transfer portal is you don't get to see them for very long. You really are one and done. But I mean, if you're going to be successful and go to the postseason and go to the March Madness and, at least get a higher seeding in there. I know, there's going to be years where you're going to lose the first round. That's just the way it is. But just being there consistently is a hump and a hurdle that Clemson has struggled to get over. So to me, Brad Brownell's response to building back this team, because, I mean, you're sitting here and you're off of an emotional run of the Elite Eight just a few seasons ago, and then you get off of kind of an emotional run of the regular season this past season where they won more games than ever. They were one of the best teams in the ACC, and you can say what you want about the ACC, but they were one of the best. And then the roster just seemed to kind of implode, but you kind of felt like, well, they should have known about this, right? Because Ian Shefflin was definitely going to be gone. There was no question there. Chase Hunter was definitely going to be gone. There was no question there. Victor Locken was definitely going to be gone. No question there. So you were kind of on borrowed time with all those guys. And then you got, Jaden Zachary. We don't know his status still to this day. I haven't found anything on if he's going to return or not. He might be fighting for that additional year because he played junior college. So maybe there's an opportunity there to add him in the mix. And then you had some ones that kind of shocked you, Chauncey Wiggins, Asa Thomas, Dell Jones, Christian Reeves. I mean, it just kind of kept snowballing as they kept going. And, in a lot of ways, I put out on social media that it was a good thing because the guys that were leaving, either they left and they had a great career at Clemson and they left with a high note, or there were guys that really I'd like to see them move on anyways because they just were not meeting expectations at all. Dell Jones, I think most people would remind us that that's who they kind of put out there as the big one that was a big head scratcher. But either way, no matter what happened, it's happened, and Brad Brownell has flipped this roster. He went to I think we were looking at like 10 open roster spots because you're going to get 15 spots, right? But he's gone in and really kind of built into it. Some guys that I think are going to contribute immediately and be in the starting lineup immediately. He has put on another masterclass of roster management. Build a very strategic strategy, a strategic option to go into the transfer portal and land exactly who he wanted. It seems like Brad Brownell just knows exactly what he wants to do, who he wants, and how he can replace talent, but how that talent's going to work well together. Not just about like rebuilding from scratch, Now, the identity may be different because these players are going to be much different than what you saw this past season. And that's probably what we're going to have to get used to with Clemson basketball. The identity as a whole is going to they might have to figure themselves out in November, December. But I think overall, this team, Brad Brownell is going to have a team that can rebound. Brad Brownell is going to have a team that's going to play strong defense. And if he can figure out a way to get the team shooting better than this last team, to get the team to get hot at the right time. I think the last team just got to a situation where they got hot too early and then fizzled out late February. You'd much rather them fizzle out, late March or early April than what happened, with mid to late February, because then you still have all of March, which is a big part of your postseason there. Now, the big thing about Brad Brownell is that he's going to be aggressive in the transfer portal, and he didn't wait around for talent to just kind of fall in his lap. He and his staff went out there and they were calculated. They hunted down guys that were very intentional, guys that were good shooters, guys that were good defenders, that were leaders on their previous team, and also got in a returnee, which is even crazy. I know a lot of people from the radio mentioned that this could happen, and it actually did with RJ Godfrey. So Davidson gives you that offense. Welling gives you the defense. Johnson gives you some swagger out there, and Godfrey gives you that glue and that leadership and that returner back to the team, which is going to be really cool. I know the fans are going to love to see him again because they didn't really want to see him leave. There was a lot of discussion about why he left. And maybe it was the money going to Georgia. Maybe his family wanted him to go to Georgia. I don't know, but he's back where he wants to be, it seems like. Clemson is going to evolve and figure out what's going to work, what mix of size and strength and experience is going to work all well together. But I'll give you my thoughts today as well. Is it just a quick patch-up job? I mean, in some cases, yeah, maybe. Brad Brownell had to do what he had to do to get guys in. Now, when you go for the transfer portal, it's going to be a quick patch job because they're not going to be around for very long. But it could be something that builds a foundation as well. And these could be some bricks to kind of get these younger guys, if they're actually guys that can contribute and not leave, then maybe it's just kind of 1 year to get you through while your redshirt freshman and your true freshman get settled in. Every program in America is dealing with transfer portal chaos, and basketball is probably the worst. I don't know if there's any other sport in college athletics that is worse than basketball at the transfer portal chaos that is out there. But Brad Brownell has done a really good job of getting guys that aren't from the similar backgrounds, that aren't from the same team, that aren't from, around here, and been able to build a cohesive team. And it's not just about surviving to the next game, but it's positioning themselves to be relevant in the ACC every single season. And I would trust Brad Brownell to build a roster that can compete. What happens, if this team were to face off against the last team? Would this team be better or worse? I think that's how they're going to be evaluated. Now, it may not be better or worse with the wins and losses, but maybe they're more athletic. Maybe they're more versatile. Who knows? We'll have to see as the season goes on. But who could win that matchup? You can let me know. But don't forget to follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show. The next segment, we're going to talk about kind of these new guys, specifically what those 4 transfers are, who they are, why they're ready to be the next star for Clemson. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. Now, when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much money I was spending on food and takeout and everything, and it was crazy. I mean, I was spending double what I was spending on groceries as I was spending on eating out. And it was just unnecessary because I had food wasted in the refrigerator. Now I budget smarter, I save more, and I eat better. And also now that I, use it with my spouse, my wife and I, we have better conversations about money, and that's always a good thing for sure. Stay on the same page, less stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, let's get nerdy now and dive into Clemson's transfer class. And this isn't just a roster fix to me. It's a glow up, if you will. I like to think that I glowed up as I'm getting older. Aging like fine wine, as I would say, as you may say. But I'm giving you some detailed accounts of some scouting reports that I've seen on these 4 new transfers. I'm going to tell you their strengths, where they fit, and why we're about to make some noise in the ACC and for another season in a row. So check it out. All right. So we know that Nick Davidson, a 6'10" forward from Nevada, he, to me, is kind of the start and the centerpiece for Clemson. He's a star at Nevada, 15.8 points per game, 7.2 rebounds per game, and shooting about 37.1% from 3-point land in over, a few points per, or, multiple threes a game. So he had a stretch where, the guy is kind of like, would resemble a big man or a guard that's kind of stuck in a big man's body. He's 6'10", but he's going to go out there and he's going to shoot threes, and he's going to make you be honest and guard him honest out there on the perimeter. But he also can drive really well past slower big men, which is very common out there. You're a taller guy, you're less coordinated, or maybe you're got a little bit more pounds on you, so you can't move as fast from right to left. Well, not this guy. He can definitely do it. He can post up and beat out smaller forwards because he's just big. And because of his athleticism, if you're too slow of a big man, he can blow right by you. And if you don't really guard very well, he can stay out in the 3-point land and drop one too. So against Colorado State, he had a great game where he dropped 22 points, including 3 3-pointers. And he's a kind of a guy that's just super confident with his game. he has a really good feel for the game, but he also, is not afraid to pass the ball. He gets a couple of assists every game, and it's kind of rare. He's not a black hole by any means. He can find the cutting players. He can throw to the kickback, the kickouts to the perimeter, and to me, he's athletic enough to kind of lead the fast break off of a defensive rebound. Defensively, speaking of that, I mean, he's solid. I got quick feet, good positioning. I wouldn't say like he's my number one rim protector or anything like that, but he's definitely going to play Brad Brownell style defense, which is just tough and gritty. Second team All Mountain West honors on his resume, and he's got some good production so far. He's just going to have to move it up to the Power 5 level with Clemson. And he could be a go-to scorer for the Tigers offense. He'll stretch the defense, being able to, kind of be, versatile there going to the outside. He'll give other guys space and room to operate as well. I would think that, to me, there would be a good combination there with him and Dylan Hunter, maybe him and Jaden Zachary if he comes back. The question or not is, is the physicality maybe the biggest difference from Nevada to, say, the ACC? Is he going to be able to post up and be physical and battle down low? That's one kind of big shock that you may see from the Power 5 to where you were. But I do think that Brad Brownell is going to be able to get him into the system and get him ready for the ACC. You really want a guy who's coming in, not going to have many games left because he's older. But I will say that, confidence is what I go for. And the guy definitely believes that he is really good and he belongs. And that's what you want. So he could be kind of a leader for you in 2025, 2026. So Carter Welling, 6'10" forward from Utah Valley. To me, if Davidson's kind of your centerpiece, I would probably say that Welling is more of your cleanup crew, more of your defensive monster. He averaged 12.4 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks. He was the WAC Defensive Player of the Year. So he's going to be kind of that scrappy guy that gets down there, gets dirty. Not going to get you a ton of assists, but going to do a lot of the dirty work down there, getting the boards and making the blocks. And 230. I think last time I checked, he's going to be kind of an anchor down low. Some of the video that I've watched on him, I like his basketball IQ. I like his effort. And that's a big thing too, is you can't coach effort, right? And so if somebody just has that instinctively and just never gives up on any ball, to me, that is elite. He goes straight up on the blocks. He's very textbook with his defense. And here's something that maybe Clemson needed more of last season. They didn't have. He didn't give up a bunch of dumb, cheap fouls. So he's got a knack for defense. He can rotate if needed to into multiple positions. He can play against guards. He can play against forwards and big men. So to me, he's not going to get exposed too bad in pick and roll situations. Offensively, he's efficient. I wouldn't say he's going to be kind of your primary go-to guy, but he's going to be a rim protector. He's going to be a putback guy. He's got a decent mid-range jumper if you leave him open, but just kind of that Ian Shefflin type relentless energy, just scrappy guy down low. He's going to box out. He's going to dive for loose balls. He's going to set the screen up for the other players. And he makes everyone else's job easier, for me. So I think that I like what I'm seeing from that. The challenge for him is, like with Clemson dealt with, when he gets to this level and he moves up, is he going to start turning into somebody who does foul a lot? We don't think that he will come in. We think he's going to be very disciplined and not do those things, but it is a jump up from where he was before. So is the competition, the increase in difficulty and competition is what I'm trying to say. Is that going to cause him to foul more and not be in the game? Because this team is going to be light in their depth. We know that. It's going to be another season of not a full roster of depth here. So you need your guys that are your go-to guys out on the court. Now, Clemson also got just recently this week, Ephraim Butta Johnson, 6'4" guard from UAB, and it is nicknamed Butta. And he's going to be Butta for sure out there on the court. He is electric. He, gets his nickname because he has like a smooth game. He's buttery smooth. I'm a pilot, and so we talk about having a great landing and just kind of, they call it greasing the landing. Some people call it a buttery landing. Just having something smooth and just beautiful and comfortable and just really, really nice to watch and to experience. Averaged 13.2 points per game at UAB, knocked down 56 threes at 38.6%, shot 86.9% from the free throw line. He is a 3-level scorer. He has a quick trigger. He has a good handle on the ball. He can pull up off the dribble. He can catch and shoot. He can attack the rim with authority. You really like what you see. A lot of social media guys like Cliff Spammon's out there saying that they really wanted him last season and they really liked him and his film. So he could be one of the better guys on the core or on the floor when he's out there. Defensively, he's kind of a scrappy defensive guy, exactly what Brad Brownell would want. He's got quick hands, very good instincts, not afraid to get in the shooter's face. He might get in trouble a little bit here and there, talking some smack. He's kind of just one of those scrappy guys, and just kind of fits what we're looking for, what Clemson's looking for. The question or not is, it kind of goes back to the same question I think I have for everybody except for RJ Godfrey, which is, can they make the jump? Can they make the jump from where they were at to the ACC? It is a big jump, and I know the ACC was down last season, but it is definitely a big jump. And then finally, I will go back. I'll say, Butta could be someone like Galloway, maybe with a little bit more upside, but a little bit better shooter. And then RJ Godfrey, there's not much to say about RJ, 6'8", forward from Georgia, from Clemson originally. His return is a huge deal. He wants to be here. He knows the program. He knows the culture. He knows the campus, and he knows the system, right? And he didn't average a ton, 7.8 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game in limited minutes. He didn't get as much as he probably wanted when he was moving up over to Georgia, but he is a do-it-all forward that can really get a lot more minutes here at Clemson. He's a great defender, guards threes, 4s and 5s really well. Offensively, he's a slasher. He can hit the rim. He's got a mid-range jumper. He's not a volume scorer, but he's going to make some good decisions. And he just has a really relentless motor. He's never going to give up, and he's going to keep pushing throughout the entire game. And those are the kind of players that can keep you together. Those are the kind of players that can push you forward to the next level. The challenge, I think, for RJ is he going to come back and is he going to be a leader, or is he going to fall to the shadows? You can't really afford that. I don't think that's going to be the case. Knowing RJ, he's probably already becoming a leader on the team, if not already that guy. So all signs are setting for Clemson to set the tone with these transfers. And these are not guys that are just going to be sitting on the bench. These are guys I think they're going to be either in the rotation heavily or possibly be starting. And we'll get to that in segment number 3. All right, so the final segment of the show, we're going to predict Clemson's 2025-2026 starting 5 and how we think they're going to do in next season. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already talking and taking advantage of the Trademaster program. Now it is your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, we're going to finish up the show here talking about Clemson's starting five, possibly for next season, and we're just going to have some fun with it. I don't know what's actually going to all shake down, but we'll have some fun with it, and we'll talk about kind of what each player brings to the table, and based on what we know today, because Clemson is still out there, Brad Brownell is still out there looking for more transfer portal guys who can add more to the team and continue to build what he has for 2025, 2026. But let's see how it shakes out right now, and how it works. So Dylan Hunter, you got to think he's going to be probably your point guard. He's going to be your floor general. He kind of started shaping up into that role. To me, he's going to be a guy that's going to be steady, reliable, understands the playbook and the schemes, and he's going to run the show. He's going to probably get a ton of assists. Now, I don't think he's going to wow you with a bunch of 20-point games, but he's going to be a rock. He's not going to have a ton of turnovers. He's going to have a bunch of smart passes and tough defense. 3.1 assists per game. I think he's going to have much more than that. Didn't have very many turnovers per game, so I think he's going to keep those low. He's just a guy that can keep everyone calm, get them in the right spot, get the ball to them at the right time. And when the game is on the line, he can be a guy that you look to be a leader and to be your kind of calm in the storm. He can set shooters up like Butta and Davidson really easily, get them better looks, and his experience throughout the postseason and what he's been experienced with his brother and the rest of the previous teams are going to be able to help him and really kind of be a leader on the team. Now, you've got really the rest of the guys, I'm assuming, unless you have Jaden Zachary, unless you get Jaden Zachary back, you really got 4 transfer portal guys. That's my true opinion on it. Butta Johnson is going to be a guy who may not be hot every single game. He's going to have a couple of games where he's going to have, he's going to be cold. He's not going to be finding things. He's going to get the ball. He's going to throw some bricks up there. That's going to be just the way it is. But there's going to be a good amount of games where he is going to catch fire and he's going to be able to create his own shot. And he's going to be able to work well together with Dylan Hunter and just find the rhythm. And once he finds that rhythm, then he's going to be making big shots, dagger threes in a tied game. He's going to be able to bring a ton of energy to the team. People are going to feed off of him. People, meaning the fans, are going to feed off of him. I think the crowd is going to really go wild when he starts hitting. Defensively, he's also going to be a scrappy guy and really aggressive and make some big plays, I think, and really force opposing guards to work their butt off just to get some shots out. To me, he could be an X factor in a lot of these games. And then I think for sure you're going to have RJ Godfrey in there, Swiss Army knife type 3, small forward, if you will. Versatile, can play the post, can he play the 4? Going to be cutting in, going to be screening in, going to be finishing plays, going to be hustling the whole time. If Hunter is the leader, if Butta Johnson is your crowd igniter, then RJ Godfrey to me would be your glue guy. Nick Davidson would be your offensive engine. I think things would probably run through him. Get the ball to him inside, let him score, let him be the focal point, let him post up. When you lull him to sleep and you frustrate him with the post up, go out to the 3 and pop a 3. If you guard him too close at the 3, he's going to drive past you. So I think he's going to be kind of maybe stat sheet wise, Nick Davidson probably would be the guy. That's what I'm going to go ahead and predict now. Defensively, he's going to be able to hold his own. And then you got Carter Welling. He's going to be your defensive anchor. He's going to be the guy that will get the crowd going as well with some really dirty blocks. But he's going to be probably a guy you're not going to see a ton on the stat sheet when it comes to points, because he's going to be doing all the dirty work. He's going to be your Ian Shefflin. He's going to be grabbing boards. He's going to be protecting the rim, boxing out, blocking. He's going to stop and disrupt offenses and clean up the messes and keep Clemson with the ball in their hands. He could be a lob threat too, because he's down low. He'll screen and go down low and free up shooters and also free himself up for maybe an alley-oop or something. Definitely going to be a tough guy down there and an enforcer. So you got your enforcer, you got your engine, you got your hype guy, you got your Swiss Army knife, your glue, and then you got your general and your leader there, your returning guy. And then from the bench, I mean, you got to kind of really like this bench, and some of these guys are probably going to get more and more time as you go. You got Ace Buckner, combo guard, sneaky athletic, developing his jumper. He's a redshirt freshman. Zach Foster, true freshman, 4-star. He could steal in and sneak in and get some minutes as well because he can get on a scoring tear. Dallas Thomas is a guy we've heard a ton about, 6'9" forward. He's got high energy as well. So Clemson's not going to have a large roster of 12 to 13 guys or 15 guys out there, but they're going to have 8. I think they're going to have 8 or 9 that maybe you could rotate through pretty confidently. When the game is on the line and it's tight and it's in the ACC and it's late in the season, you might not have 8. Really, I mean, you might not have 8, but that's what I'm looking at so far with the team. And really, it's a hats off and a golf clap for Masters Week, but it's hats off to Brad Brownell and what he's been able to do with the team. Don't sleep on the team in 2025-26. Don't panic because Brad's kind of showing you again, hey, there's no need to hit the panic button. That I think he's built a team already, even though he's still got some more to fill in. I think he's built a team already that can go to the postseason and push in the ACC as well all over again. It's pretty cool to be in a situation where you're at in this day and age with Clemson basketball, because many years, you go through and you struggle to even think about getting to the postseason. And I think Brad Brownell, with the transfer portal the way it is, it does extremely, extremely well. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damon Parson and Keith Sanchez as your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, hey, I appreciate love and support. Don't forget to follow me over on X at The Morgan T Show. And we'll see you tomorrow where we'll continue to talk about Clemson football in the spring and also maybe sprinkle in some softball and baseball as well. Thank you so much. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.